First of all, there's some things that I know that we have in common. You've been identified as a super mom. I know sometimes we don't like to say super mom, but that's the category we fall into based on everything we have to do. Now, because of the grace of God, I'm also an author. And then you're a retired educator. My mom and dad, they taught for over 40 years.
Oh my goodness.
Your Brooklyn connection. My husband was born in Brooklyn, and he's very proud of that.
Oh yes, Brooklyn is the place.
Like I said, we're both from South Carolina. I'm just kind of feeling we're related already. I know we have the connection of being moms and being praying moms. But in the book, you write about not being your children's friend and establishing an hierarchy. Can you talk to me about that?
Well, it would be very difficult to be friends and still be a disciplinarian. And at some point, you do become friends as they grow older, but even there, that mom thing should always take precedent. Like, we never get to be so close that there are liberties you can take that you shouldn't take. So I can't be your disciplinarian and go out and smoke pot with you like I've seen mothers do or read about mothers do. I can't be in the club with you and direct you. I have to hold myself to a higher standard because I want you to look at me, and when I tell you something, you can follow, because it's easy to say something, but you have to see it.
You have to see it.
You have to see it.
I want to respond to that with the first part of the title of my book. Oh Lord, you just said it all. You just said it all. Can you share with us your rules, the Mama Rocks rules?
I always said in my house, we have a lot of love, but we have a lot of rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really how the book came about. What are your rules in your house? And I think number one rule was, I'm your mama, not your friend. And the thing is, I always said, no child really wants to be alone. We have this thing like, give your kids freedom, or you don't have to be on top of them or whatever. And children need boundaries. Your boundaries are their safe ground. When they don't have boundaries, they can get into all sorts of things. And that's the one thing you have to let kids know. My boundaries are what keeps you safe. I am a big thing about sitting down to eat. I don't care if you cook the food. You don't have to even cook it. You could do McDonald's, but sit down as a family and talk and eat. We always said we never had to look up to a superhero. Superman was sitting at that table at 6:00 every night, and that was Julius Rock.
All right.
Yeah, so it's just making sure that you set boundaries, that you set rules that they can follow, and that they understand that there is a consequence for whatever you do, good or bad.
That's strong. That is so powerful. And I think these are things that we know as moms, as parents, and as years go by. But Lord knows it helps to hear it again. And I'm excited about those young mothers and new mothers that will be watching this. You also talked about it being important to hug for positive reinforcement, not just punishment for negative behavior.
You know what my thing is? I think hugs are better than penicillin. Hugs get you through the day. It's a difference in punishment and discipline. Punishment is to hurt. Discipline is to teach. So there's a big difference. And the other thing is words. Don't go at your kids when you're angry and say things, because you can't take a word back. And when people yell at a kid and say, I wish you were never born, you didn't mean it in that moment, but somewhere in your psyche, you meant it. But the idea is that stays. You know that 5 years later, 10 years later, that resounds in your mind. So I'd rather spank a child and sit them down and then go back in 5 minutes and love on them, because the words are so powerful and you can't take them back.
Words are so powerful, Rose. So powerful. I think about things with my twins, some things that I have said to myself, I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I hadn't said it that way from years ago. And I've even had my sons say to me something that I've said, that bothered them. And I think it's also important that once we've identified that, to speak to it, to say, I did say it that way.
Right.
But if I had to do it over again, I would have said it this way. And it may have been something that needed to be said, but not in the way that I said it. It's good for our children to hear us apologize, because we're asking them to apologize quite often.
Yeah, that's one point I was going to say. Don't be afraid to go back and say, I'm sorry. One of the things we want our kids to do is honor us. And I don't think we understand that we have to honor them too. And so many adults really think they don't, I feed you, I take care of you, whatever.
Yes,
but
yes.
You have to honor them as people.
Yes, as people. They're human and God created them.
They have feelings.
Yes, yes. Yes. So I do know that you are the mother of 10, but you birthed 7 or 6?
Yes, 7.
7. That's a wow right there.
Has 7 birth children, 3 given children. And I said, given children are children that come to visit and never leave.
Never go.
Never go home. Never go home.
That's a good way to put it. How many girls and how many boys? I wanted to ask you that.
Oh, it's 6 boys and 1 girl.
So could you talk to us about the difference between the raising of the boys and the raising of the girl?
The only difference, because rules are rules, values that you teach.
Okay.
And this is one thing that we make mistakes in not teaching boys to have the same values that you teach girls, because we really let boys think they can run around and get away with anything morally or whatever, and it doesn't affect them, because in the old school they say a man is always going to be a man. And then we teach our girls different. So I think right now our thing is to teach both the same value system. One of the proudest things in my life, and Chris always speaks to this, is I have 6 grown sons. I don't have any baby mamas anywhere. Yeah, because they have to have values too.
Yes, yes. And that speaks to you as a mom and what you planted in them. Let me just ask, since you mentioned Chris, has there been anything different with him being a celebrity? Things that you found as a mom that really helped in parenting him as a celebrity?
One of the things that I love about Chris is that he's always Christopher. He's Chris Rock when he gets the mic, but he's always been Christopher. And one of the things that we taught in our home is that manners will open doors for you that no amount of money will ever open. He has always practiced that. And some of my proudest things with him is the way that other people come and tell me about him. There was a guy at Saturday Night Live that goes around and he picks up stuff that the guys throw down, or I don't even know what his title was, but it was an older gentleman, and he would pick up behind them and stuff. And one night he stopped me and he said, Mrs. Rock, I want to thank you. And I was like, what are you thanking me for? He said, because you raised a gentleman. And I said, oh, what? And he says, your son is the only one that comes back and say, hey, thank you. You did, you picked up my shirt. Thank you for doing whatever. That is important to me, that you don't think that because you have some type of celebrity that you don't owe people the same respect that you owed them when you were just walking side by side with them.
I understand what you're saying, because I have proud moments like that with my sons, when someone says to me how nice they are and how caring they are and how they help them with something. It means so much to you, because you hope that because you instill that in them, that they're practicing it. Can you think about something that you would share that has been a challenging moment for you as a mom?
My most challenging thing, I guess, would be when my husband died. And I had been kind of that pampered wife. Like I didn't know that the car didn't come with the full tank of gas and that type of stuff. But I think the most challenging thing was to step into the role of mother and father and to do it the way he laid it out, because he wrote the blueprint for this family. He knew what he wanted his boys to do and how he wanted them to be. And then I had the challenge of trying to at least walk in his shoes a little bit to get that done.
Yeah, I can imagine that was challenging. Can I say, even us just talking for the first time, you've done an amazing job. Yes, I can tell. Do you have anything to share that you feel that your mom passed down to you as a mother, things that you learned from her?
When I was growing up, I always said I would never raise my children the way I was raised. I will never. And guess what? I raised my children in the exact same way. I said the exact same things to them. So my mom had this saying that she would say, you can do anything you put your mind to. Anytime I got down about doing something at school or whatever, you can do anything you put your mind to. And that carried over to my children. And I think that's why in our house we had can't was the bad word. And they would say, don't go in that kitchen and tell my mama you can't do something, because she's going to tell you there is nothing you cannot do. Wow. There are things you may not do, but anything that you want to do, you're capable of doing.
Sometimes we don't think they're listening, and sometimes we don't think it sticks, but it's there. I know that I have a very dear friend that encouraged me to speak into my children the brilliance that God had put in them. Even as they got older, I would tell them, and I still tell them, but for them to hear that from someone that they know loves them, they receive it, and then they act on it. You see that they're doing things that they know they are brilliant and creative. What words of wisdom would you give to a new mom?
Especially in today's society, they don't realize that parenting starts before the child is born. Parenting starts at conception. So that means I take care of myself. I keep myself in, good physical care. I give myself good emotional care. I don't, get stressed out. And it's hard because sometimes, especially with these young mothers, they're in stressful situations. But motherhood doesn't come with a set of instructions. It doesn't come. It's all instinct. The only thing I can say is to open your heart and learn to love that child, even if it wasn't a planned child, even if you don't know what you're going to do. Reach out to someone that maybe can help you or whatever. And I think a lot of it is where we come in to mentor, to speak into them. We see them in preschool and we see them in the streets, and you see them all the time that just don't get that nurturing that they need because the mother hasn't been nurtured.
The mother hasn't been nurtured. Yeah,
that's you can only give what you have in you. And if nobody put it in you, how are you going to pass it on?
Psalm 139, which I love to refer to young mothers, older mothers, that we're reminded that it says that God knew us before we were even in the womb.
Motherhood is such a daunting task. Angels tremble. And to trifle with it, to not do it well, is like going against the greatest thing that God gave us. Because do you know how blessed you are that he made you a receptacle that could carry life? Wow. That is something that he thought enough of us to let us do that.
Yes, he thought enough of us.
Of us, like my children. I always tell each one of my kids, I am so grateful that God decided to make me your mother. This is a God-given thing. My body carries life. My body actually carries life. And then you give me somebody that if I parent them the proper way, they can change this nation. Your children are the message that you send out of your house.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I don't take it lightly.
Do you have something to say to those that whose children are adults, because that's a different dynamic.
Never changes though, because even though they're adults, they still need you. They
Yeah.
may pretend they don't, but they still need you. You're parenting in the same way, but you're parenting on the sly.
That's the difference. Thank you.
You're parenting in the same way, but you're doing it on the sly. And my thing is, they should always be able to come home. Home is supposed to be that stopgap. You know, when the race cars are on the track and they're going round and round and round and round, and then they stop for a pit stop and you fuel them up or whatever. That's what we should do with our older children if they need us. You can always come home, because home is always home, but you come in with a plan.
Come in with a plan.
I'm the pit stop. I'm going to fuel you up. I'm going to get you ready to get back out there.
Okay.
But you're not going to come in and just be here with me, because I don't do grown people. That I'm not going to let you fall, and I'm not going to let you go under, but I'm not going to be that thing that just, you just keep coming back. You can't do it. And I know now we have families that had to move back home with their wife and kids, because right now with what's going on,
yes,
that's where they need to be.
That's
and
right.
They should be welcomed with open arms. With open arms. Yeah.
Amen to that.
So for older children, yeah, it's just different rules, but we still are the parents.
Well, Rose, I have one last question for you. First of all, I don't even want this to end. I think as South Carolinians, we have to get together over some sweet tea or something.
Oh yeah, sweet tea and sit on the porch.
Sit on the porch, see, and talk, because you're doing something. My heart is just overwhelmed by talking to you. But the question I want to ask you, the theme of this event is When Mothers Pray. And so, how has prayer impacted you as a mother and a grandmother?
As a mother, oh my God, you're always praying. And once you understand that there's power in prayer, it makes you pray more. And you pray every day. I lift my children up one by one, every day. Every single day. You have to. And sometimes, like I would tell my youngest when he first left home, the reason your life is going the way it's going, you got people on their knees praying for you. There was this old song they would sing at church. Somebody prayed for me, had me on their mind.
And took the time.
And prayed for me. I'm so glad they prayed. And so I live that. As a grandmother, oh my God, it takes on a new meaning, because now I got these young people out here. Their lifestyle is so different. They're privileged. They have this privileged lifestyle. I love the fact that Chris always tells them they're not entitled to anything. He said, my money don't make you entitled, So that part, I think he's holding them, but they know who they are. And that's the difference.
Well, again, I want to thank you so very much for taking out this time. I know it's been just very special for me. I know that those that will hear the interview will be blessed by it. Thank you for taking out this time. You have a blessed family and blessed children that have a mommy and a grandmother like you. And I'm just glad to have met you, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. I would love that.